Hey friends, this is Eugene from Workabee Supply, and today we're talking about a very important topic, your raw images and video files. Now, my question to you is, what do you do with them? Do you keep all of them, or do you ditch them as soon as the project is done? We asked our community on Instagram, and if you don't follow us there, you definitely should. We're at Workabee Supply, and the results came back pretty much 50-50, and this has been our experience with colleagues and friends as well. So it's time to take a definitive look at the pros and cons of keeping your raw files so you can be confident that you're doing the right thing. And if you stick around to the end of the video, we'll let you know what we do as well. So first, let's take a look at the cons of keeping all of your raw files. The first big one that everybody mentions is cost, and mainly the cost of hard drives. If you're keeping more files, that means you need more hard drives to keep them on. And similarly, if you're backing up your hard drives like you should be, if you're not, check out our How to Back Up Your Drives video. Then you need more backup drives as well. So all of this goes to say that you're gonna need a lot more storage space if you wanna keep all your raw files, and that makes sense. And that is true, that is a cost. For us, it's a few $100s a year, maybe 300 bucks or so. The next thing people mention a lot is time. And just like cost, if you're moving around more files, it's gonna take you longer. It's gonna take you longer to do your backups, it's gonna take you longer to do your archiving. Most of this time is not spent you physically doing something because you just transfer it over, but your computer will be used up for much longer, so that is something to consider. So those are the cons of keeping your raw files, but now let's take a look at the pros. The cons list was a little shorter, this one's a little longer, so I'm gonna cheat and use my phone, but hang in there with me. So the first one is helping your clients. When you shoot a job, a client might come back to you years from now and have a request for a slightly different angle or a variation of a shot from the past. You know, they're not necessarily expecting you to have these files, and if you don't have them, they won't be mad at you necessarily. But if you do have them, they're gonna love you. So that's a great reason to keep them right there, is helping out your clients in the future. The next pro is selling stock. Now, when you do a shoot years later, you might want to go through those photos and use some of them for stock. This could be completely different angles, views that weren't selected. In general, just shots that you didn't use, but could be valuable to somebody else. We've been doing a little bit of this while we've been in quarantine, going through old shoots, finding angles and whole kind of locations that weren't used in that shoot, and seeing if there's any stock potential. All those old photos, far from costing you money, could actually start making you money. The next one is image requests. This is something, if you don't work with magazines, you might not be so familiar with, but photo editors will email you out of the blue and say, does anyone have any photos of a beach in Italy? And one of your travel photos that you might have deleted otherwise could net you a bunch of money or end up in the cover of a magazine. We get a lot of these requests, and more often than not, we don't have the image they're looking for, but occasionally we do. And if you have all of your raw files saved, that really increases likelihood you can participate in those and make money from photo editors when they're looking for a specific shot. The next one is leveling up your portfolio. As you get better, you might decide that you like different images from a shoot more, and you actually want to put those photos in your portfolio. You know, our tastes change, how we look at images changes, and the kind of work we want to present to our clients changes. So keeping those photos allows you to go back in shoots, look over them again, and come back at them with your improved eye and your better editing style, so you can level up your whole portfolio. The next one up is specific pitches. Now, sometimes you'll be pitching an ad campaign or something like that, and the art director or whoever's involved wants a really specific example. Oh, like a drink on a beach, on a chair. And you know, a lot of those photos, they might be in your outtakes. That's the kind of thing that actually could make or break you getting the job, because as silly as it seems, even though most people can shoot a large variety of work, oftentimes clients want to see a specific example of the kind of thing that they want you to shoot. Keeping all your raw files might make it easier to pitch for projects in the future. The next one might not be for everyone, but it's definitely helped me out, and that's using past images you've shot as parts in composites. Now, what that means is, let's say you had someone walking in a specific way and you want them in the background of a different shot, you might go through all your old images and find little elements that you can use to build your new composite shot. Now, not everyone creates those kind of images, I get that, but if you do, you really should be keeping all your raw files, because it creates this kind of like wealth of raw assets for you to work with in future projects. The next one is usage. Sometimes after you do a shoot, you sell the images to the main client, but someone else involved in that project, let's say you photographed a building, you sold the images to the architect, but then the person or the company that makes the windows might want images for themselves, and that's called selling usage to those images. Now, your architect client might not have selected all of the best images that that window client would potentially want. And if you deleted all your raw files, those are gone. So it's very important. This could actually net you a lot of extra money. Oftentimes, the usage sold after the shoot can actually be as much as the initial shoot in the first place, all by just keeping your raw images. The second last one is it's a great story tool. You know, as a photographer, as a videographer, really as any creative, you're gonna be asked to do talks, workshops, presentations, pitches, and having those raw images, maybe it's like a bit of behind the scenes or showing a bad shot versus a good shot. It really helps tell your story and makes it more exciting for the audience. Perhaps, you know, it won't net you that extra paycheck, but it'll make your story that much more interesting and that much more full when you're asked to tell it. Now, the final thing is cost, which you might be saying, wait a second, didn't you just mention that on the cons list? Now, on the cons list, people were saying that it's too expensive to save all your raw files. And honestly, for me personally, I feel like it's very inexpensive. The cost is a couple $100s a year, so, you know, 40 bucks a month maybe, but the benefit you get can be so huge for each of those points, and in fact, it could actually directly make you money as well. So for me, that's well worth the price of admission to keeping all my raw files. And the real point that I think is important to get across is that, like, once you delete those, there's no going back. So even if you want to pay $10,000 later, you're not getting those files. So to me, paying a few $100 a year is a great price for keeping all of my raw files. So now you know the pros and cons of keeping all of your raw files. And I'd love to know if this changed your mind on how you handle your files at home. Drop us a comment down below and let us know where you stand. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to hit a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe, as we're gonna be releasing a ton more videos about freelancing and photography. Now, Workerbee personally, we've been keeping our raw files since we started shooting, and it's saved our butts a ton of times. All those situations we've covered in the pros list, we've encountered several times in our own career. So that's where we stand. Where do you stand? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'm excited to talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.